Welcome back to episode 26, the Turing Test Podcast. I'm your host, Jamie, and today we're diving headfirst into the murky waters of AI governance on a global scale.
And I'm Rachel, ready to stir the pot. This is a big one, folks. We're talking about how we as a global community can wrangle this AI beast before it, takes over.
Exactly. We've seen the headlines, the anxieties, the potential for both utopia and, let's be honest, dystopia. So, Rachel, let's kick things off. Where do we even begin with something as massive as global AI governance?
Well, I think the first thing we need to acknowledge is the sheer scale of the challenge. We're talking about coordinating regulations and ethical guidelines across a patchwork of different cultures, political systems, and economic realities. It's like herding cats, only the cats are armed with algorithms and potentially, access to nuclear launch codes.
Okay, maybe let's not jump to nuclear apocalypse just yet. But you're right, the complexity is mind-boggling. We have countries like China forging ahead with AI development at breakneck speed, while others are still trying to figure out the basics. How do we even begin to find common ground?
Well, for starters, we need to stop pretending that this is just a technological issue. It's fundamentally a political one. We need to get past the nationalistic posturing and recognize that AI doesn't respect borders. A rogue algorithm in one country can have ripple effects across the entire globe.
Right. But how do we actually enforce these global regulations? I mean, we can't exactly send in the UN AI police to shut down a data center in, say, Russia, if they're not playing by the rules.
That's where things get tricky. We need to think about a multi-pronged approach. International treaties, sure, but also economic incentives, maybe even some kind of global AI watchdog organization. Think of it like the IAEA for algorithms.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of maybes and perhaps here, Rachel. Let's get specific. What concrete steps can we take right now to move towards this AI utopia you're envisioning?
Well, for one, we need to start investing heavily in AI ethics research. We need philosophers, sociologists, ethicists, all working alongside the tech wizards to figure out what responsible AI development actually looks like. We can't just leave it to the Silicon Valley bros to decide the fate of humanity.
Okay, I agree with that. But let's be realistic, Rachel. Ethics research doesn't exactly move at the speed of, AI. We need something more immediate, something to address the very real concerns people have right now about job displacement, algorithmic bias, and the potential for, AI-powered warfare.
Look, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but we have to start somewhere. We need to build trust between nations, share best practices, and maybe, just maybe, learn to cooperate for once instead of constantly trying to one-up each other. Think of the Avengers, right? They had to learn to work together to save the world.
Okay, that's a bit of a stretch, Rachel, but I get your point. We need a global effort, a coordinated response to this unprecedented technological revolution, and we need it now.
Exactly. We can't afford to wait until we're facing some kind of AI-induced crisis. We need to be proactive, not reactive. We need to be the adults in the room, so to speak.
Well, let's hope the adults are listening, because the clock is ticking. By the way, so before we continue, just a quick shout out to Augmented AI, the producer of the Turing Test Podcast. Augmented AI hosts a variety of cutting-edge courses in generative AI, large language models, edge AI, robotics, and computer vision. You can get a free generative AI course at bit.ly/Turing Test Podcast or go to www.augmentedstartups.com.
So, Jamie, you mentioned job displacement. That's a huge concern for a lot of people. How do we address that in the context of global AI governance?
Well, I think we need to start thinking about things like universal basic income, retraining programs, and maybe even some kind of global fund to support workers who are displaced by automation. It's not going to be cheap, but it's an investment we need to make.
Right, and we need to make sure that these programs are accessible to everyone, not just those in developed countries. We can't leave the global south behind in this AI revolution.
Absolutely. And we need to be mindful of the potential for AI to exacerbate existing inequalities. We need to make sure that the benefits of AI are shared equitably and that the risks are mitigated for everyone.
I mean, look at what's happening with deepfakes. It's already being used to spread misinformation and sow discord. Imagine what could happen if that technology falls into the wrong hands.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. We need to be thinking about how to regulate the use of AI in areas like warfare, surveillance, and even, political campaigns.
And we need to do it quickly. The technology is evolving so rapidly that it's hard to keep up. It's like a game of whack-a-mole. Only the moles are algorithms and they're multiplying faster than we can swat them.
Okay, that's a disturbing analogy, Rachel, but I think it highlights the urgency of the situation. We need to get our act together, and we need to do it fast.
Exactly. We can't afford to be complacent. The future of humanity is at stake. Okay, maybe that's a bit dramatic, but you get the idea?
I do, and I think our listeners do too. This is a conversation we need to be having, and we need to be having it now.
And lastly, don't forget to check out Augmented AI University to upgrade your skills and become an AI expert fast. Go to bit.ly/Turing Test Podcast to enroll in your free cutting-edge AI course at augmentedstartups.com. See you next time.